Today's episode is brought to you by Hawaii Pacific University's Holomua Commitment. HPU puts a private college education in reach by guaranteeing admission and at least a $15,000 scholarship for local high school students with a 2.75 GPA or higher. Guaranteed admission, guaranteed scholarship. Visit hpu.edu/affordable for details. Hawaii Pacific University, Hawaii's affordable private university. Aloha and welcome to another episode of Hanging at the Reef, the podcast where we dive into the stories, voices, and experiences that shape life in Hawaii and beyond. I'm Jeffrey Rich, Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Hawaii Pacific University, and today's episode is a special one. We'll be spotlighting the vibrant world of the arts and the powerful role they play in building community, confidence, and creativity. Today, we have a special guest host. Dabney Gough, the Director of Marketing at Hawaii Pacific University, will be leading the conversation. Dabney brings a deep appreciation for the intersection of art, education, and storytelling. Joining Dabney are two inspiring guests. First, Dr. Teresa McCreary, Associate Professor of Music and the Director of the Performing Arts at HPU. Over her career, Dr. McCreary has led orchestras, toured internationally, built arts programs from the ground up, and most recently, helped launch the university's innovative Bachelor of Arts in Arts and Markets. Her leadership has shaped the creative heartbeat of the campus for more than a decade. Also joining the conversation is Aubrey Motsinger, a biology major with a concentration in conservation, ecology, and evolution, and a passionate musician. Aubrey shares what it's like to balance STEM and the arts, building community through music, and how creativity has become a vital part of her academic journey. Together, they explore the power of the arts, from choir tours and chamber music collaborations to the new experiential art space at Aloha Tower. This is a story about finding your voice, your people, and your confidence through creativity. Here's Dabney with the conversation.
Aloha and welcome to Hanging at the Reef, the podcast that dives into the people and stories of Hawaii Pacific University. I'm Dabney Gough, your host for today, and I'm joined by two inspiring guests, Dr. Teresa McCreary, Director of Performing Arts and Associate Professor of Music here at HPU, and Aubrey Motsinger, a biology major with a passion for cello. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes.
Today, we'll explore how the arts help us discover community, challenge our thinking, and enrich the student experience at HPU and beyond. So let's dive in. Teresa, let's start with you. You helped shape the arts landscape here at HPU for years. So can you just give us a little snapshot of what the arts at HPU look like today? What are the different disciplines represented? How can people take part?
Sure. Yes, it's a thriving, a very busy program. We have several ensembles that perform regularly. The Hawaiian Ensemble, the Jazz Combo, the orchestra, sometimes chamber orchestra, sometimes symphony orchestra. We have a pickup band that plays sometimes at basketball games. And we have a large choir program with a separate select group called the International Vocal Ensemble, and that is directed by Dr. Colin Boothby. Then we also have a thriving theater program, and that is directed by Professor Emily Stapleton. She is kind of new to the university. She's only been here a few years, and so far she has produced amazing student-centered plays that students can get involved in from all over the university. In other words, you don't have to be a theater major. In fact, you don't have to be any kind of arts major to participate in these groups, as Aubrey will speak to. She's done a number of productions in actually our old campus and our new campus here at Aloha Tower. So we have a new experiential art space at Aloha Tower that she does her plays in. And we'll talk about that more later. And then I direct the orchestra program as well as oversee the arts at HPU.
Got it. There's a lot of facets.
So many.
To that. Yeah, we'll dive into some of those. And just thinking about the arts in general, how do they actually benefit university students and the university community? What does that relationship look like?
It's highly collaborative because it's multidisciplinary. because we involve students from, like I said, all over the university. So every student has the opportunity, if they wish, to continue their studies in the arts or try a new art. And what we find the arts programs give to our students the most is a sense of collaboration and a sense of place and a sense of belonging. You have an instant social network when you join one of these groups. We go on tours together. We experience new cultures and new places together. And we also provide an inspiration to the rest of the university. So I find that in my experience, music uplifts the soul. So when we perform, that's our job, is to uplift the souls of our community. And it's a very noble job, but it's also a very pleasant job. And I think we do bring positive, public relations in general to the university. I always like to say the arts are the front porch of the university.
Like that. Tell me more what you mean by that.
Yeah. It's sometimes the front-facing and most public of the programs at a university because we regularly perform. And that's why they're so important to the health of the university, is to bring the spirit up, lift up the soul, inspire, and just put smiles on people's faces. And we see the gratitude from our audiences, and we have that energy loop that gives us the inspiration to keep going. It's definitely an energy exchange between us and our audiences, but also between us. Share a lot of magic within our groups as well as out.
And Aubrey, how did you end up at HPU, and what drew you to biology and music?
So many things. So I came from Washington State, and my whole life growing up, since the 4th grade, I've been playing cello. And so I've been really quite involved in music all through my public schooling. And then I initially came to HPU with a degree, or seeking a degree in marine biology, which we joke that everyone comes here for marine biology, and people change. So I am one of those. I did just scooch over to biology with a concentration in some environmental goodness. But I came here because my criteria for a college were that they would have a really good program for the degree that I was seeking, but they would also have an orchestra program that I could be part of, even though I wasn't a music major, because I love playing in an ensemble. It's my bread and butter. So HPU just it had that for me, and not in a way that I was initially expecting or used to, but it did have that for me, and it has been very fun.
When you said not how you expected or were used to, what did you mean by that?
My orchestral experience in high school was very competitive, not negatively, but it was just very much you are kind of competing against yourself. And also there were state competitions and such that our ensembles would compete in to kind of just better ourselves. And I came here and, there is such a thing as island time and kind of a more laid back mentality, which I definitely had to get used to, but it has made my experience in orchestra really just very fun, because I still bring that desire to improve myself and have a really good sounding ensemble. But I've also been able to appreciate that even if we're not hyper productive during our rehearsals, that we're still growing and improving, and we have, I think, a really great dynamic in orchestra and just a good community. And I know that the same happens in choir as well. They also have a really strong community, and I'm sure it happens in theater as well.
Yeah, it has to be fun. It has to be fun. And we don't have parents, telling their kids they have to participate in a music program or they have to do this. The students are there because they want to be there, and they often talk about just enjoying the experience. They talk about growing and learning too. That's definitely part of it. And I find that students learn and grow even more when they're having fun.
That tracks. That makes sense. But it also strikes me as something that is really something that has to be done in person and by interacting with each other. So it gets us off of our screens.
Yeah.
And it forces us to look each other in the eye and communicate and experience something together in real time, which is rare. More rare these days.
Yes. Low tech.
Yeah.
Hey, don't say it like that. We have videos and various other things that happen alongside our musical performance.
Low, high, high, low.
And then I heard that you took the arts on the road this spring. So, Teresa, tell us about the choir and orchestra tour to Kauai. What was the goal of doing that and how did it work?
Well, there's a story behind that. In 2020, we had plans and we had fundraised tens of thousands of dollars to take a tour to Ireland. And we were all super excited. And it was supposed to happen in May. And we all know what happened in the spring of 2020. And we had to cancel at the very last minute. So we lost $24,000 in fundraising money because we had to pay the tour company penalties. And we were so sad. And then we couldn't travel for a while after that. And it was, I have to say, it was dark times. You know, it was really sad. When you're a musician and you can't perform and travel, that's really sad. So gradually came out of the pandemic, of course, and gradually raised more money and was able to find enough to go on a shorter tour to a neighbor island. So we decided to do a small one, this time. And it turned out so nice. It was lovely. We took the choir and the orchestra, and we performed separately as well as together. The orchestra got to perform with the Kauai Community Orchestra, and the students had not performed with a big group like that for a long time. So it was exciting to be in a huge ensemble and play for a big crowd at one of the shopping centers in Kauai. And the people, it was packed.
It was.
For that concert, right?
It was.
And the choir performed at a school, which we love to do because it lets people know about HPU. And we use it, of course, as a recruiting tool to show them who we are and play for them. And Aubrey, I think you had an exceptionally good time during that tour.
I did. It was spectacular. No, it was really good. Your comment about the crowd at the mall that we played at reminded me that there is such a good connection. I'll talk about the tour, of course, but there is a really good connection between our different music programs. So many people are involved in multiple. So some people are involved in choir and orchestra, or choir and theater, or theater and choir, or theater and orchestra. I think I got all three, but like they're involved in however many they want to be. And then they're also just incredibly supportive. So a lot of my friends in choir graduated this past spring, but when we went on this tour, it was like the final piece that we were playing at this mall. And there were a whole bunch of different like conductors from the community ensemble that conducted. And so it was the final piece and this like student conductor was going, and then it finished and there was like this raucous applause that more than so than we had heard at any other piece the whole night. And I was like, wow, her friends must be like really supportive. And I look over and I see people jumping and I'm like, oh no, it's our friends. Like it was the choir who had finished their concert and they were able to catch just the last piece that we played. And it was immediately like so loud and just so wonderful. And it's just like that much support for every arts that we do, from both like in people in the arts, but also like the people outside of the arts, which is quite fun.
Showing up for each other.
Yeah, it's the best.
That's great.
The Kauai trip was spectacular. I did have a particularly good time. That sounds suspicious. I promise. Some of us in the orchestra, because we had a rehearsal with the community orchestra, we befriended some people in the community orchestra. And then the following day we had off until our concert in the evening. And so Dr. was like, you know what, go. And we were like, okay. So we befriended this one person who had a truck, and he ended up picking us, several of us up, and we went and we jumped off waterfalls and we were just hanging out in nature for a good while. And then we came back, all of us got ready, and we went to our concert that night. And it was so fun. And then several more orchestra people the next day went with him to go explore the island a little bit more. So we just were able to build those connections like with choir, for those of us who didn't already know people in choir, but also with people on that island, and just getting to experience it a little bit more than we would have if we hadn't gone to like rehearse with anyone.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to connect with the people who live there when you travel, to really experience their community or their or culture. Sometimes we have homestays. Sometimes we do joint concerts. but just something to give the students an idea of the outside world,
Yeah.
outside our little bubble of a university.
Yeah. As you were each talking, I was thinking about this idea of the arts being the front porch, but also like a mobile front porch to different islands, and let's other people in the back door, and a real exchange for everyone who takes part in it.
It's a mobile home.
Very classy one.
Yeah, very classy.
Something else that we talk a lot about at HPU is this idea of finding your ohana. So, Aubrey, I'm curious to hear about how the arts helped you find a community here.
Well, in wherever you go, if there's an orchestra and you're part of it, it's already like kind of a smaller group that you get to meet, which is very exciting.
You just described it and you're talking about the Kauai tour.
No, I'm like, everyone's just so supportive. It's so wonderful. But you get to meet people that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So I joked about earlier that like everyone comes in from marine biology and like most people switch to a different major. But I switched to a different major. And I know that other people, specifically even in orchestra, came in with marine biology and have since switched to different majors like nursing or like, I want to say biomedical engineering or something along that vein. And even though I might have met them if we had all been in marine biology at the same time, we would not have continued any connection after each of us switched into different majors that were more aligned with what we actually wanted to do. So I got to meet all of these people and form all of these connections across majors, because that happens in any university where you have like big general classes at the beginning of your courses, and then you just kind of shrink
get more special
into just your bubble of people. In my concentration, there are only like maybe 10 of us in my concentration. So it's tiny anyway. So getting to expand by being involved in orchestra has been great. And then orchestra having that connection with choir. So if you're on scholarship, you have to take music theory. I would say but music theory is hard. So you have to take music theory. And that's how I met like loads of people in choir, because regardless of if you had orchestra scholarship or choir scholarship, you were all in the same music theory class. So I got to form those connections with some of like my closest friends just by meeting them there and then getting to continue on through college with them.
And I think when we chatted before, you also mentioned how orchestra gave you the opportunity to connect with, when you came in as a freshman, it gave you the opportunity to connect with upperclassmen and then even perform with like community members too.
It did, yeah. So one of my dear friends, she graduated last year from a business major. So I simply would never have met her. Like 2 years older than me, like completely separate, not even just like major, but college. Like, so I got to meet her, which was great. And then we have some community members who join us every week for orchestra. So we have a HPU alum from almost 10 years ago or something like that. So we can't get rid of him. So it's good, but getting to play with him, who I would never have met otherwise, and various other community members, because we get new ones every year, it feels like, which is a blast. So getting to form those connections with people I would just never have known. And now I have group chats with them and we talk about various things and we plan what music we want to play next. And it's just a good time.
As you're talking, I'm thinking more about this idea that music gets us to interact in real life, but it also makes me realize that it's an opportunity to cross-pollinate with lots of different types of people, which is also something that doesn't happen online very often. More and more that we get sort of pushed into our little silos, but the opportunity to meet and interact with and build a community with lots of different kinds of people sounds really valuable.
Yeah, so we have community members in our ensembles too, as well as HPU staff and faculty, which is fun because then our students also experience people that, like Aubrey said, they would never have met. We even have we have the head of HR in our orchestra, and we have tons of people in the chorale, the big choir, that come from the community, as well as different places from the university, faculty, staff, and students.
As an educator, as a faculty member, how do you see this idea of finding your ohana when you think about students who come into HPU from either from a local high school or from the continent or elsewhere? What's your perspective on seeing students find their ohana?
Well, like I said, it's an instant social network. When you join an ensemble at a university, it's almost forced upon you, whether you like it or not. It's the job of making music is the work, but it's the other things that are almost more important than the job, which is making the connections and feeling that energy. And we even talk about our orchestra as a family. We even say it's like a family. It's ohana. It's easily accessible. It's so public and community oriented, yet it is intimate, And I think when you make music or make art with other people, especially in an ensemble situation, there has to be a safe place emotionally and physically and mentally to do that, because you're expressing from your heart. You're exploring the depths of yourself as a musician, and then you're having to connect that with everyone else or some others in the ensemble. So it's intimate, but it's also safe and warm, like a family. We are really honest with each other.
Like a family.
We fight, we talk about differences, argue about interpretations or bowings and, what some people might think is silly, but that's part of the process. That's part of the work, and part of the intimacy is feeling safe enough to do those things.
Let's change gears a little bit. I want to talk about the degree program that you helped launch here, Teresa, the Bachelor of Arts in Arts and Markets. So what is it and how did it come about?
It came about 6 or 7 years ago. We got together as an arts faculty and tried to figure out what kind of major we would have at the university if it was going to be arts related, because we had no arts majors. And we thought about duplicating other universities and having a traditional, performance education, those areas of music or the arts. But then we realized that there were no universities in Hawaii that were teaching the business of the arts. We knew that the University of Hawaii had something, but it was more like a music recording industry degree. So we put our heads together, a visual arts faculty, a theater faculty, and music, and we figured out a way to also bring in the business classes that we think students might need to succeed in a career in the arts. So we also brought in someone from the School of Business. So he suggested a core of classes that would kind of just be basic ground level business skills. And we decided that we would allow students to concentrate in music, theater, or visual art, pursue their artistry, their personal artistry, but also take a core of business classes that would give them those skills in the real world. And so what we were doing was fighting the old adage of starving artists. We wanted to show a clear, many clear career paths for an artist in education, in administration, in arts management, in arts marketing, and also performance, but most of us are not talented enough to make it as a professional artist. Let's be honest. So these other career paths are ways to make a living in something that we're passionate about. And then if we want to perform, we can, but we don't need it necessarily as a livelihood. Yeah, so because of its uniqueness, we immediately had 10 majors, and then we had 20 majors, and now we have about 40 majors. And the program is only 5 years old, and the parents are excited about it because they don't have to warn their child, you're never going to make it, because they see a pathway for their child. And I hope it continues to thrive, because I think it's a really important aspect. Most of us as artists are really bad at marketing ourselves and talking ourselves up and being savvy about business skills and making a living. So at least gives us a fighting chance in the world. And now we have graduates who are in those fields, actually, who graduated with the BA in Arts and Markets, and they're out there managing groups. We have one student who's managing a bunch of local rock bands all over, not just Hawaii, but on the West Coast as well. We have another graduate who is teaching music in a public school. We have another graduate who's doing tech for theaters all over the community, and including the HPU theater. She comes back and does some of our sound and lighting tech. And she's also she was a double major in English. And so she's writing her novel while she's doing these music theater tech jobs.
And also running her own business.
Basically running her own business.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's, to me, something that's really interesting about this degree is I think a lot of people know they want to work in a creative field, but they don't necessarily feel like they don't necessarily gravitate to the business program because they don't feel like a business person.
Right.
But it really feels like an opportunity to develop really tangible, useful skills in a way that sets you up to work in a creative field.
Right. And you said it in business for yourself, which is true. Maybe not everybody wants to work for a big corporation or a big organization. Maybe you just want to be an independent contractor and do these jobs that allow you to be in control, not necessarily a part of a big business.
We pride ourselves on innovation here at HPU, and I really think that this is such a great example of seeing a need and opportunity and creating a program that really sets students up for real world success after they graduate.
It's definitely innovative, cutting edge stuff.
What kind of student really thrives in the program?
Usually students who have interest in community. This one alum really felt like local rock bands didn't get enough attention and time and space in our community. So that was kind of his mission. We tell the students they have to create a mission statement. They have to create not just a business plan, but an artist's statement or a producer's statement in what their purpose is for the thing that they're doing. We had one student who wanted to bring to light the very important social issue of period poverty. And so she organized a concert that was also a fund drive and a drive for period products. So people brought in their products to donate. They also donated money to a local community organization called the Ma'i movement, which is the same thing, organized to address that issue. And she was very successful. She even had a student perform the concert. And so it was completely student-led, student-run, and directly involved the community as well as a social issue. I think all of our students nowadays, they want to address social issues and sustainability and things that really take care of our community as well as the land. So they want to find a purpose and make the arts the vehicle for that purpose.
And it's so great that the project is not just to come up with a plan for how you would do this theoretically.
Actually have to do it.
Putting on the concert and learning by doing. And that's something they can put on their resume or put in their portfolio and say, I did this. I didn't just learn about it.
Right. In fact, they're required to do a portfolio, which documents the entire process, which is something they can take with them to job interviews and present as their own work.
And then, of course, Teresa, after so many years, at this point, you are transitioning out of your full-time work at HPU. It's a major milestone. What's next for you?
Next for me is not working. I feel very blessed that I'm able to do that, and I'm still in good health. So I have some goals. I would like to learn to sail, and we live on Kaneohe Bay now. So there you go. I just need my boat or someone else's boat. And I've decided to trade sailing lessons for violin lessons because there's a member of the community who wants fiddle lessons. So I will be teaching him to play the fiddle, and he will be teaching me to sail. And I also have a goal of playing more on my cello. And one way to do that is to participate in the local musicals, the Broadway musicals that are produced here in the community. I'm playing one coming up called The Last 5 Years. It's being produced at Diamond Head Theater. Beautiful music. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. So it's a pleasure just to be able to play, to perform and earn a little extra money at the same time. And of course, travel. That's a big one. It's always a big one for retirement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what will you take with you from your HPU experience?
Great question. I will take a sense of agency, because when I started at HPU, there was nothing. I mean, there was a choir, but that's all. And I was given agency by the university to start some programs from the ground up. And I had never done that before. It was totally new to me. It was very scary at first, but eventually I found my footing and created these ensembles and the BA in Arts and Markets, and things are really thriving. So I think I'm leaving that with HPU, but I'm taking with me this sense of I can do anything. I can make or be anything I want to be, as long as I'm given, the resources, of course. But the freedom that I felt to do that was really important, to be able to create, and the safety, a safe place in which to do it at the university. And then, of course, I take with me my students, and I will never, ever forget my students, because that's what it's all about, right? And I like to develop relationships with my students that are lifelong, not just while they're here. So I like to follow them on social media or whatever and see what they're up to. And it's such a pleasure to watch them grow up and become real adults. And it's exciting to see how they turn out, And I find that when they come back to me as alumni, they have an appreciation for me that they maybe didn't have. And that is the spirit of teaching. I think my students keep me young and vital. So I want to continue that. I don't want to ever lose that. I will miss my students, and especially my students and the faculty as well, and staff. I mean, it's the people here that I'll remember and take with me.
Well, you certainly leave quite a legacy. And I love the idea that created a sense of agency in you, because I think that's exactly what we do for our students too. So
exactly.
There's a nice parallel in there.
There is.
Unexpected.
I didn't think about that, but you're right.
Well, Teresa, Aubrey, mahalo nui loa for your stories, your perspectives, and of course, your music. You should have brought instruments today.
I know, I thought about that. You'll just have to come to a concert.
Whether it's touring Kauai, performing in the experiential art space, or building a new degree program, you've both shown how the arts help us find our voice and our people. To everyone listening, thanks for joining us on Hanging at the Reef. Until next time, keep growing, keep creating, and keep hanging.